My overarching goal for this class is to make you a better, more confident cook. I'd be happy if you would go into the kitchen with an armful of vegetables and take them and with confidence and enthusiasm turn them into dishes that you could share with your family. I want you to have fun. We're going to focus on vegetables, and there's a lot of good reasons to focus on vegetables beyond just learning how to cook. If you think about vegetables for just a second, vegetables represent for me a more authentic eating experience. Vegetables are connected to the season. Vegetables are connected with a certain locale. I can go to the supermarket in June and I'll see different things than I will see in December. So that idea of tracking the seasons and the region makes food more meaningful to me and hopefully to you as well. Certainly there's the health aspect of vegetables. Vegetables are a great way to move the needle of your diet towards a healthier outcome. So health and wellness is a big part of cooking, but especially of cooking and eating vegetables. Think about sustainability for a second. If you're concerned about food ethics, we can't eat meat and only meat into the future because it's just too resource intense. Little by little, and this has happened in my lifetime and yours as well, you're seeing the proportion of what goes onto the plate changing. When I was a kid, it was nothing to see a 16-ounce steak, and now the portion has shrunk down to 4 or 5 ounces, and what's taken its place? Vegetables. The doctors are there cheering you on because that's a healthy choice. And if none of those reasons are compelling to you, here's one last one. Vegetables are cheap. You can go to the market with not much money in your pocket and come home with a wealth of different vegetables that you can take into your kitchen. So, vegetables, I would say, are important. Now, in an earlier program, I shared with students that there are a finite number of cooking techniques. There's only 4, actually. Dry heat cooking with fat, dry heat cooking without fat, moist heat cooking, and combination cooking. You may not have heard those before. If I say saute is dry heat cooking with fat, grilling, broiling, roasting, dry heat cooking without fat, simmering and boiling, those are moist heat cooking techniques, and then braising and stewing are combination cooking techniques. You start to get your head around the world of cooking. But know this, those techniques are not just for meat and fish, they're for everything. And so what I'd love to do is prove to you that you can practice all of those cooking techniques with vegetables. To that end, I've chosen one vegetable today, the humble carrot. And we're going to do a lot of different things with carrots. And what I would love to have you see is that you can roast carrots, you can grill carrots, you can eat them raw, you can juice them, you can turn them into a delicious cake. All those things are at your disposal, and all you need is some carrots on hand. All right, so let's get started. Take a look at this tray. I've got apples, celery, carrot, and cucumber. All those things went into the juicer, and I've got a delicious and healthy juice here. This is all basically raw, but very, very delicious. Those carrots are intensely sweet. You know, if I had to make that again, I might squeeze some lime juice or some lemon in there just to balance sweetness with acid. So there's a little bit of juice. Here's another dish. I took carrots and parsnips and I fried them very slowly. We're going to do this again in a later lesson, but I fried them very slowly until they were crisp. I seasoned them with salt, a little bit of Parmesan cheese, and then right here, these are the same carrot tops that you see in front of me, just fried until they're crispy. And I use those as a garnish. So we've got raw juice, and now suddenly we've got crispy fried carrot and parsnip chips. Here, I roasted some carrots. I cut them up, I dressed them with oil, olive oil, salt and pepper, and I put them into the oven at about 425 degrees, and I roasted them until they were tender and they were golden brown on the outside. If you've ever made hummus, then you know that you take chickpeas and tahini, sesame paste, a little bit of garlic, and you create a really compelling, almost addictive dip. Well, I made roasted carrot hummus. Some of the chickpeas came out, and I brought roasted carrots to bear on that dish. It all went into the food processor. I ground it up. And what I'm going to do here is make a little hollow in the middle. This is the way I love to serve this. And I'm going to put some great extra virgin olive oil right on top. And then, because the carrots are sweet, I've got a spice mix here. It's called cooke. It's from the Eastern Mediterranean. It's got cumin, it's got sesame seeds, coriander seeds, pepper. There's some nuts in here, hazelnuts and almonds. And I'm going to take and sprinkle that right on here just to balance some of that sweetness of carrots. So there is roasted carrot hummus. All right, over here on the stove, take a look. I've got some carrots that have been braised. Now, you might braise pot roast, you might braise lamb shanks, maybe you've even braised osso buco, veal shanks. So what I have here, what I call this anyways, is carrot osso buco. I've taken a big carrot, a horse carrot, one that's a little bit tough, and I've treated it like a tough piece of meat. Now, this simmers for a long time until the carrots are very, very tender. And once they're tender and they've cooked for a long time, sometimes they lose their vitality and freshness, and it's replaced with complexity. So you give up vitality and freshness for complexity, but I'm going to build it back into the dish right now with something called gremolata. And gremolata is something that you sprinkle over osso buco and our carrot osso buco to give it that fresh, vital quality again. It includes parsley, it includes garlic, and I'm going to chop the two of those together. I had a cooking lesson once from somebody's Italian grandmother, and she suggested to me that you never chop garlic on the board without parsley. You don't want to flavor the cutting board, you want to flavor the parsley. And so this is how gremolata starts. You know, as I'm looking at this, I'm thinking, you know, this is a carrot dish I'm garnishing, so why not some carrot tops in there as well? We'll chop those all up. Now, the last thing to go into the gremolata is some lemon zest. And I'm going to add it right here. I've got a microplane. This is a great tool if you've never used it. It was originally a woodworking tool, and now it's a kitchen tool. And we'll continue to chop this up. Okay, now stop for a second and imagine this dish. Long braised carrots, tender, meaty, a little bit sweet. They're in a tomato sauce, so that'll cut through some of that sweetness. But they've lost that vitality until I take this mixture and I sprinkle it on top. And as soon as the gremolata hits the hot dish, what you can expect is this explosion of vitality and freshness and aroma. I'll just stir it in a little bit, and there is another carrot dish to be enjoyed. Let me put it up here for right now. And then one more, and I think everyone probably recognizes this, carrot cake. I'm going to make a carrot cake in a subsequent lesson where I add some parsnip as well as carrots to the dough, or the batter. Parsnips have a little bit of an anisey flavor, and I think that might make for a really compelling cake. And then the cream cheese frosting, I'm going to take some of the cream cheese out and replace it with a parsnip puree. But for right now, here is a baked carrot cake. So think about it. Raw carrots in the form of juice. I've got fried carrots in the form of chips. Here is baked carrots in a beautiful cake. Right over here, roasted carrots that have been turned into a hummus, and then finally braised carrots up front. We're just getting started. I'd love to show you a few more carrot dishes to sort of expand your repertoire, and maybe expand your thinking about cooking and vegetables. So a couple of years back, a restaurant in New York City called 11 Madison Park set the world on fire by making a dish called carrot tartare. They would take carrots tableside and they would grind them in front of the guests and then treat them as though it were ground meat. And they would use all the classical garnishes for a tartare. Ever since I heard about it, I've wanted to try it, and so we're going to do it together today. I've got some nice fresh carrots here, and I'm going to get rid of anything objectionable, so I'm going to cut the tops and bottoms, and I've already peeled them, and we'll discard that. And then I'm going to cut these into smaller pieces, and it's probably fair to say that you don't have a meat grinder readily at your disposal at home, and so I'm just going to use a food processor. We'll take the carrots and put them right into the food processor. It might make a hell of a racket here, so let me tell you what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to grind them up, I'm going to pulse them, and I want them to be sort of uniform but fairly small. Think ground beef. All right, here we go. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. Now, in this bowl, I'm going to combine all the classic garnishes for a steak tartare. We're just going to bring it to bear on carrots. Now, it always includes an egg yolk, and I have pasteurized eggs here. We're going to eat this egg raw, so having pasteurized egg yolks or pasteurized eggs is a way to guarantee that you'll be safe. That goes in. Then I'm going to add a little bit of mustard. This is Dijon mustard. I'm going to add some anchovies. Here are shallots. These have been minced up nice and fine. Shallots make their way in. Capers, also diced up. And be generous with these because remember, we're trying to flavor 3 whole carrots, all right? And then finally, right here, I've got some cornichon. I'll just dig them out. These are cute little pickles. They're sour pickles. And they make their way into the classic tartare. I've got them all diced up, and those go in as well. So we'll mix this into a dressing of sorts. I'm going to add some lemon juice, a little bit of Worcestershire sauce, and then finally some olive oil. It's time to gather up all of our carrots and put them into the dressing. It's nice that we had the food processor to do all the hard work for us. And let's stir this together and make sure we're happy with the flavor. So we have some salty ingredients in there already, the pickles and the like, but it still needs some salt. And it needs pepper. And I'm going to add a little more olive oil. And I think we're good to go. All right. I'm going to set that aside. And let me show you how we're going to plate this. We're going to make a ring mold, and we're going to form it in the ring mold. But on the bottom of the ring mold, what I would like is a layer of avocado. So I've got an avocado right here. We're going to open it up. Very nice. I'm going to dice it right here in the shell. We'll scoop it out. And a little splash of lemon juice will keep it from discoloring, and salt and pepper to season it. The first layer of our tartare is going to be avocado. I'm going to spoon it into the bottom of a ring mold. And I'm going to use a fork to press it down into a nice uniform layer of avocado. And then we're going to reach for our carrot tartare. And we'll put a layer of that right on top. And again, I want to press it down so it's nice and even. And if we lift this mold up and off, that should be a great start. Now, it still feels a little unfinished to me, so I want to put a little salad on top. And part of that salad is going to be carrot tops. I've got these beautiful carrots right here, and I'm taking the tops off of them. And what I'm going to do is fry these until they're nice and crispy. So have the oil hot, about 350 degrees, and then drop them in from a great height. You don't want to get too close and get splattered, but here we go. They will fry very, very quickly. We're going to make sure that we've got a paper towel that we can drain them on. When they bubble, that means there's water in there. And when the bubbling subsides, that means they'll be crispy. I'm going to put some micro arugula on the top. I'm going to dip these carrot tops out. And we'll add those to our microgreens. And that'll help tell a flavor story. And then here, I have some little white blossoms. These come from garlic chives. And I thought one or two of those tucked in amongst the carrot tops would look nice, but also taste nice as well. I haven't been to 11 Madison Park. I haven't tried their carrot tartare, but I'm looking forward to tasting this one. I think just a little drizzle of olive oil might be a nice addition around the plate. And we have made our first carrot tartare. So I'd like to make two more carrot dishes, one of them simmered gently in a buttery liquid that becomes a sauce, and I'm going to use baby carrots for that, and then another where carrots are grilled really dark. I even call them burnt carrots, and that burnt bitterness balances the sweetness of a really sweet carrot and creates kind of a fun salad. So let's get started here. I've got some baby carrots, and there's one that hasn't been peeled yet. If you go to the expense of buying a baby carrot, treat it a little bit gently. Don't treat it like it were a horse carrot. Don't press too hard on the peeler. Try and keep it nice and round and looking like a carrot still. And then here at the top, usually what I do is I just scrape the tops. I leave a little bit of the green on, but I scrape the tops to make sure that there's no dirt or anything objectionable. That looks pretty good. And these others I have already cleaned up. Some of them are a little bit larger than others, and I want them to be sort of delicate. So a large carrot like this, I'm going to cut in half. That one's fine. This guy is a little bit long, so let's cut him so he looks like 2 carrots. This fella, we'll cut in half. This guy is a monster. Cut him in half. All of these came out of the garden just today, and I know they're fresh, just a little bit larger than I wanted. All right, any of the stems, or excuse me, the root ends that are too small to peel, I'm just going to cut off. And I think we're good to go. Now, I'm going to cook these carrots in water. I've got a pan on the heat here. So I'll put some water in, and we'll add all the carrots. All right, I'm going to put some salt in the water. I'm going to put a little pinch of sugar in the water. That'll underscore the sweetness. I'm going to add some turmeric. And turmeric is becoming everybody's darling these days. It is a spice that has been singled out as being particularly healthy, and so that people are finding ways to work it in all kinds of dishes. This seems like a great one right here. The color of the turmeric will underscore the color of the carrots and make them maybe seem even brighter. And there's kind of a sweet citrusy quality to turmeric. So we'll add turmeric to the water as well. Not too much. And then finally I've got some star anise. This is a great Asian herb. It has a great look to it, but when you smell it, it's pretty remarkable how aromatic it is. It smells like sweet spices. So I'm going to put a couple of stars of star anise right into the water, and then a big knob of butter. And already, this is starting to look like a sauce in the bottom of the pan. But as these carrots cook, their own sweetness and their own flavor will mingle with the liquid below. And then just at the end, I'll reduce it down so it's not too watery. And it's a nice, creamy, buttery sauce. I'm going to put a lid on it so that they can steam. And my guess, these will take about 8 minutes to cook. I'm going to turn it down to a simmer. And that's that. Now the next dish, the burnt carrot salad, is going to take us in a very different flavor direction. Let me get rid of some of these ingredients. And we'll clear the decks for this next dish. I want to grill these, and while they grill, I want them to cook and become tender. So I'm going to take them and cut them into basically carrot sticks. Something like this. Okay, those I'm going to put on the grill, but first a little bit of olive oil. Also salt and pepper. And I'm going to add some thyme as well. This is fresh thyme, and sometimes it's called sweet thyme. I'm going to cut it up really small. I'm not even going to take the stems out. If you cut them up small enough, they eat pretty well. So we'll just make sure that all of the carrots are covered with oil and thyme and salt and pepper. And then we're going right onto a hot grill. And it may be sort of flipped to suggest it, but let's just forget about these for a while. I want them to get a dark coloration on them. Okay? We can monitor their progress just by listening to them. They'll brown pretty easily because carrots are sweet and sugar likes to caramelize. And that's exactly what we're looking for. For our burnt carrot salad, I'm going to need a little vinaigrette for this salad. It couldn't be simpler. It's going to be olive oil and it's going to be vinegar. That's it. Figure 3 parts olive oil, 1 part vinegar, a little bit of salt, and pepper. Salt, usually 6 times as much salt as pepper. It's pretty common that people will end up using way too much pepper. And the first bite tastes good, but then you start to get this burn that just doesn't go away. Now, since we're the chef, it's okay for us to be curious about what's going on. The star anise is very powerful already, so I'm going to take 1 of those out and just set it aside. I may use it as a garnish because I love the way it looks, but it's starting to get a little bit strong. Beyond that, things look good. Let me see how the carrots are doing. They're already tender, so I'm going to turn the heat up and take the lid off so that we can boil away some of the liquid. They're just now becoming tender, but I want this to create a nice sauce in there. So we'll let that cook a little bit more quickly. So our dishes are coming together really nicely. The carrots that I have cooking here, you can see the liquid is reduced down to a nice creamy sauce. I want to finish this dish up for you. We're going to put it on a kind of a fancy plate because I think of these carrots as very delicate. But what I want to do is taste the sauce and make sure I'm happy with it. I'm going to add a little bit of salt, and I'll tell you the thing that really surprises me is there is such an incredible sweetness to this sauce. That's probably a function of really ripe, really fresh carrots. I'm going to balance that sweetness with a little splash of lemon juice. And then we'll give it a stir again. And one last taste. That's exactly what it needed. So, as I said, these baby carrots are exactly that. They're babies. So just treat them with a little bit of tender love and care. I'm going to put the star anise, both of them on here. I'm going to drizzle this sauce over the top. And then I thought it might be fun to put a few blossoms on here. These are borage flowers. Borage flowers have the flavor of cucumber. We have them out here in the garden. I'm going to grab a couple of more of the blossoms. And then I also have some garlic chive blossoms as well. I haven't put any pepper on here up until now, but just a little over top. And there we have baby carrots that were cooked in their own juices with butter, turmeric, and star anise. So with this first dish done, I'm going to come over and pull all of these carrots off the grill. What you're going to notice is that they've gotten a lot of color. Remember, this is a burnt carrot salad, so I want them to be black in spots. I can guarantee you they won't taste burnt. They're going to taste caramelized and complex and sweet. And with these lined up, I'm going to cut them in half into bite-sized pieces. I didn't cut them earlier because that would just mean so many more pieces to manipulate on the grill. These go right into the vinaigrette, as do those. I'm going to add some parsley, and I'm going to use it like a salad green here. So we'll add some parsley right in there. I'm going to add some arugula, but let's toss this real briefly because the arugula will start to wilt. So let's make sure that this is properly flavored. And then finally, I'm going to add arugula. And I want to put goat cheese into this salad as well. Now, goat cheese crumbles pretty easily. Usually I break it into pieces about the size of a chickpea, and I add it to the salad. If you make it much smaller, then when you toss it, it can start to just disappear altogether. And then the final thing that I want to put into this salad is something that you might not have seen before. This is garlic right here that has been sliced very, very thin and then fried slowly down around 225, 250 degrees. And you fry it just until it turns a pale golden. Any more than that and it starts to get bitter. You fry it so slowly because you want to drive all the moisture out before it browns so that it gets nice and crispy. So this tastes almost like a nut, like a garlicky nut. It's that crispy. And we're going to add that to our salad as well. I'm going to toss this together. And because carrots are our star today, I'm going to make sure that they get a place of prominence on this salad. Just a few more garlic chips. And there's a burnt carrot salad with goat cheese, arugula, and garlic chips. So with that selection of dishes behind us, we have 23 lessons still to come, and you're going to see a lot of different vegetable preparations. But I'd like you to remember this. Chefs don't create new and compelling dishes every day, neither do they follow recipes to the T. Instead, they walk a middle line. They have a few recipes that they're very familiar with. They own those recipes, and with that in their toolkit, they begin to explore. Maybe first timidly, I'm going to take the chard out and I'm going to put spinach in. Or maybe I discover I don't have any cilantro and so I'm going to use parsley today. But then you can make bolder and bolder choices. That's the way a chef does their work. Now, remember, you always have the option to go back to the recipe, follow it ingredient by ingredient, line by line. But if you bring your cooking chops with you, if you bring with you everything you know about cooking and you bring it to bear on that new recipe, I can guarantee you it'll serve you in good stead.